Good afternoon, this is Atmospheric Alex here with yet another severe weather outlook and discussion video here, and we are going to be talking about quite a significant tornado outbreak today across portions of the Great Plains here, especially in Kansas and Oklahoma, where a moderate risk for severe weather has been issued. We're going to start with weather-wise here with your Storm Prediction Center's convective outlook, and here you go. We're talking about a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale from Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, and a small little 4 out of 5 on the severe weather scale in the midst of all that, where we have the potential for intense to potentially even violent long-track tornadoes later on this evening. There's going to be some uncertainties here with how everything evolves, which we'll get into in a minute. And we also can't forget about this teeny tiny area down here in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. We do have a slight risk for severe weather, mainly for wind and hail. As we take a look at our tornado risk here, we have a 15 hatched risk, so this is a 15% chance of seeing a strong tornado within 25 miles of a given point here. So when you put it that way, it sounds a little more significant, right? Anywhere in your browns, yellows, and reds, you need to be watching very closely for the risk of tornadoes today. Moving to your wind outlook, surprisingly, we're not going to see much wind out there today. Generally a very large 15%, another one down here. Really, we're not talking about much to be concerned about, but our hail risk is a lot more significant. 45 hatched risk for hail, so 45% chance of significant 2+ inch diameter hail within 25 miles of a given point. So again, this could be quite significant. Outside of that, you have your 30%, which is a very large area. So tornadoes and hail will be your main two risks today across the plains. Moving into tomorrow's convective outlook, we're talking about a pretty large 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale here for Missouri, Kansas, portions of Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. I do believe that a 4 out of 5 on the severe weather scale could be issued, maybe perhaps right within here, depending on storm initiation tomorrow, but we could be seeing another risk for intense long-track tornadoes. Violent tornado risk a little more uncertain because, again, we're a little further out, but just know that tomorrow is another very big day for the plains. And then also we're talking about a little bit of something interesting out here that I've been noticing. You know, clusters of storms may be forming over here and slipping into portions of the southeast. I do think we could be seeing a level 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, maybe for some areas like right within here, maybe a little more off to the north and east, but we'll get into that later, as some models want severe weather directly in my backyard again. So kind of crazy, right? Our tornado risk, a massive 10% hatched risk for significant tornadoes. Wind risk, a 30% there. Your hail risk as well, we're talking about a ton of hail that is likely tomorrow in your hatched risk areas. Again, very significant in nature. Day 3, this is Tuesday. Yet another enhanced risk for severe weather. Look at this. A little bit smaller for Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee here, but again, this could get a little more expanded. Your massive 2 out of 5 as well. This is going to be something to note. Damaging winds, large hail, and even some tornadoes will be your main threat. Couldn't even rule out a chance of a strong tornado, you know, maybe anywhere in this area here we're going to have to watch for. So, how about our HRRR model? What is it saying for our possible future radar here? The timings will be on the top of the screen. I'll zoom you all in right now onto the screen. Hopefully your timings are up there. If I'm not able to get it there, this is going to be extremely weird, but we are talking about this in 15-minute increments. Chances for some stronger storms forming down in Texas here, going into around 2 to 3 p.m. Central Time this afternoon. Your Ardmore, Paris down there, Texarkana. And then here is our main round of supercells here, firing off here in northwest Oklahoma and southern Kansas, going into around 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time. This is when your intense tornado risk will really begin to ramp up, as our wind shear will begin to as well. And yeah, even these supercells out here, intense, maybe violent tornado risk here. This is going to be a very significant ordeal for portions like Dodge City, Garden City, Medicine Lodge, Enid, Oklahoma, going into around 5 to 7 p.m. Central Time this evening. And continuing to carry this on through, These supercells here, this is just a model, but this would be absolutely ridiculous seeing something like this. Look at another round here forming near Abilene. Significant hail, upwards of 3+ inches in diameter, I would say. Going into around 6 to 8 p.m. Central. Another cluster here. Supercells out the wazoo further up to your north and west, and these will continue to grow upscale more, and we are talking about just a bunch of intense tornadoes possible going into the evening, into the overnight hours. All those cells there that I put those hooks on need to be watched super closely. I will say your temperature dew point spread will be a bit of an issue, so really cut this in half for your risk, but still talking about a lot of issues. Again, down here, I wouldn't be shocked to see a strong tornado there with those cells, and it really continues going on and on and on, going through Medicine Lodge, Hayes, Hill City, Wichita, and Salina, Kansas, going into around 7 to 10 p.m. Central tonight, and these cells just continue to crank, talking about significant wind potential down here, maybe in Texas again. It's a real-time analysis type ordeal. This up here could be very significant. Everyone needs to be on high alert today. This will likely be a very significant outbreak of severe and tornadic weather, and this continues on throughout the night. Of course, moving up further north, because Nebraska is in the risk as well, we're talking about a ton of maybe elevated supercells, maybe some surface-based ones near Goodland, Kansas, around 5 to 7, or really 4 to 7 p.m. Central Time. These continue on through. Take a look at all this. More supercells fire near McCook and North Platte. Another one near Lincoln and Hastings, Nebraska. There is going to be so many supercells today with the potential for significant tornadoes and very large hail. Definitely going to be one of the more significant risks I've seen in a while. And then a very loud night setting up for you all up here. Northern Kansas, southern Nebraska. Lots of thunder, lightning, wind, hail, and even the risk for tornadoes overnight tonight as these storms cluster up a lot more. Maybe more significant wind segments. I don't know why they increase it to a 30%, but we'll have to wait and see what else ends up happening with that. How about your parameters here? They're going to rapidly accelerate going into the evening here. We're talking about some decent parameters here for severe weather. In your reds and your hot pinks here, definitely a risk for strong tornadoes out of those supercells. As we continue going later, though, this does become a lot more prevalent and more widespread. Take a look at this here. Some of your supercells will be in front of this. Some of them will be bathed inside of it. And again, anywhere in your pink color is definitely a risk for intense tornadoes, and even some of your purples starting to show up there. Very significant volatile environment setting up later this evening into the overnight hours. As we go further north into Kansas and Nebraska, take a look at this. A nice little point here for more significant activity, and you could just see it here. Looking very serious. In your black flagged regions, that's higher wind shear values, so a higher risk for tornadoes will be exhibited there, and you could just see that there. Just so many opportunities. That is why they have the moderate risk out. Despite, the temperatures being too warm and your dew points being too dry, the amount of supercells alone, something is going to happen, and it will be serious in that environment. Going into tomorrow's risk of severe weather, not today's, I almost pulled that up accidentally again. We're talking about quite a few supercells that could try to fire off going in around 2 to 6 p.m. Central Time tomorrow afternoon and evening here. And you could definitely see that risk. More supercells firing back further west. Also take your attention up here into portions of Missouri. Again, tomorrow, same song and dance. We're going to have multiple opportunities for significant tornadoes across a lot of these segments here full of supercells. We really need to watch this closely. Everything that I just circled is definitely having potential for significant activity. And some of these supercells, my gosh, really get more intense here going into the night. So intense long track tornadoes cannot be ruled out tomorrow. Even a stray violent one cannot be ruled out in the type of environment I'm about to show you all. Moving up into Kansas and Nebraska, because yes, you all have it again. You can see this looks a little more of a wind-driven risk here. Going into St. Joseph, Kansas City, Topeka, Joplin area, in those general vicinities there. Even further off to the north, because, there's even more stuff up here. Going into portions of South Dakota here, where we are certainly Tennessee, and Nebraska, again, talking about storms over there to significant severe weather possible. How about Arkansas? As we whiz through this extremely fast here, we're seeing rounds of supercells possible for portions of central Arkansas, like Little Rock, Hot Springs area. And you could really see us becoming underway around really 3 to 7 p.m. Central Time. And just a ton of hail and wind with those storms as well. That I'd really like to note some of these clusters in here, like I said, going to be very invigorated in nature. So again, tomorrow does look like another huge risk day as well. And I'm just going to say this now, all right? Please turn on emergency alerts on your phone and crank your weather radios on high, because again, talking about 2 very significant days up ahead with 2 very volatile environments. Up into Missouri we go, and you can see really the same thing. Look at that supercell there approaching Quincy, Illinois. Again, this is just a model, so don't believe it, but definitely, like I said, and have said for the last 10 minutes, it's just going to be very significant, and there'll be multiple opportunities for it, as there will be tons of storms across the whole entire risk area. This is not a conditional risk. This is as about widespread as you can get for these next 2 days. Your environment goes as follows. Like I said, a ton of reds and pinks across these areas for your supercell composite. That is where it's strong to potentially intense tornadoes are possible, but especially in the evening hours when you start seeing your flags here, your wind shear really begin to ramp up. And again, note your cells forming here in this area, tracking into your pink colors and possibly even higher. This is going to be a very significant episode of tornadic weather right up ahead. And yeah, this environment is cooking alive. We could even see localized pockets of higher favorabilities going into the overnight hours with meso-lows and other stuff that could potentially boost your wind shear value. Another thing about tomorrow I need to mention is East Tennessee. We're talking about potentially a big time round of severe weather and maybe even a couple supercells pushing on through, going in around possibly, well, I'd say 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The timing's very uncertain because it is still a day out, and forecasting weather in East Tennessee even a couple hours out is almost impossible. So that is what I'm saying here. Now look at this. Wow, look at that really damaging wind segment here pushing through my general vicinity here, going in around 4 p.m. Jeez, I mean, that is really something, isn't it? And that just continues moving on through high uncertainty for tomorrow as per the Storm Prediction Center. But could see 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, some hail, and even a tornado risk as well. What's your environment like for East Tennessee and Central Tennessee? Well, you do have a little bit of supercell composite showing up in your oranges and your red colors, so definitely a little bit elevated there. And going on further eastward here, across, like, say, Knoxville and further south, you have a couple more of those pockets there, so your cells will be very sustained tomorrow, and you're going to have a lot of storm energy to work with as well, so probably going to see a slight risk for severe weather tomorrow for all hazards. As we push the clock into Tuesday, I need to speed this up a bit. We're talking about more significant severe weather. This is just going to be a very active next 3 days. Big time around of damaging winds as possible. This is the NAM, so it likes to overdo it a bit. This will be pushing off to the east here for throughout time, so something to watch. Not giving out timings, it's too far out. Could see potentially some supercells further off to south capable of tornadoes, and even a significant tornado cannot be ruled out. Your environment for Tuesday. Not much different here. Red colors, even some hot pink colors, so still very elevated on your supercell composite values. Slightly less wind shear because you don't see as many flags showing up there in the black. So definitely going to be more of a significant wind and hail driven risk, but tornadoes and maybe even a significant tornado still cannot be ruled out. Then popping off for the grand finale, I have bad news. We're not done yet. We're talking about potentially more severe weather going in along the East Coast here, you know, like North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia going on into Wednesday. And this is the GEFS model, if I haven't mentioned that already, talking about potentially another significant severe weather event here, maybe across Oklahoma and Kansas going into a Friday, going into a Saturday, still some orange colors there, so elevated chances for severe weather. Sunday, same thing. And I really do expect this to remain quite active here across the plains. So maybe a little less wind shear, but definitely still the risk for tornadoes for quite some time to go throughout probably the rest of the month of May. Well, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my corner of the weather community, share with friends, family, and social media, and even leave a comment in the section below if you enjoyed this video. And again, it's just going to be getting very active over the next few days, so I had to kind of barge in and make this quickly to let you all know about everything. Oh, and really quickly, just one more thing. That latest tornado outbreak was absolutely heartbreaking to watch. I was looking at radar, the entire evening into the night, and just seeing multiple intense to violent tornadoes going through pretty populated areas and communities was absolutely awful. And I really am praying for those of you all who are in southern Kentucky, especially right now, the Somerset area, the London area. It was awful. It looked absolutely horrendous on radar, and seeing the debris, being lofted over 30,000 feet while it was going over homes and businesses was just not what I wanted to see, especially that late at night. So I am hoping you all have a very fast recovery, and I hope everything continues to go well over the next few months and you don't get any more significant severe weather. Those messages aside, the parameters across Oklahoma are significantly overperforming right now from what I have seen, so please, you need to stay extremely weather aware. I do expect a few violent long-track tornadoes across Kansas and Oklahoma. Can even roll out a high-end tornado as well. It is a very intense parameter space right now that was not initially realized by the models. You need to be extremely cautious out there. All right, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Stay extremely weather aware. Turn on emergency alerts on your phone and crank your weather radios on high. It is going to be very active here over the next 3 days.